Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to day 3 of the Future of Meetings Symposium. I'm Vanessa Moss. I'm the chair of the organizing committee, and I'm really happy to have Fei Ren with me today to chat with you all about what it's like working for Hoover, the process of how we got into this whole adventure, how we, why we decided on Hoover, any questions you might have about Hoover, all kinds of things. We're really, we have some questions we can go through. We're happy to just react to what the audience wants to know. So we don't know exactly what questions you might have about what we're doing. But yeah, so we'll just get started. So my first question, I think it's probably good if you get to know Faye a little bit. So I thought I'd hand over to Faye and she can tell you a little bit about herself, where she's based, what she does, and then we can go from there. So over to you, Faye.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Fei. So I am currently in the US. So I'm actually originally from China and I spent 3 years in Germany, but now I'm in the US working for Whova. And I am a senior event consultant here, kind of like I always have been over 2 years now. And I'm really kind of happy and excited to chat with you guys and hope you guys to, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to ask and I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. Thanks, Faye. So to kick us off, I guess maybe people will be interested to know how you got into Hoover. How did you first find out about it? Because it's a relatively new company. Hopefully some people have seen YY's talk yesterday and got a little bit of an idea of the history of it, which I think is so cool to just know how it came from wanting to be more prepared and involved in a conference into the app that we're using for this one. So yeah, so tell us how you got involved with it.
Yeah, I think I also watched Whava's video yesterday. It was really a very nice talk. And so for me personally, originally really I knew the funding team when I was a graduate student at UCSD. So Whova is a professor there and I know the team. And I have always been believing in working with the right people. And these are really the people that I know and I know what they are capable of. And they are really the most talented and hardworking group of people that I have ever known. And I also believe in the products that they are doing and to help people networking and to for myself as I am a little bit an intro style person as well. So I'm also afraid of to network with other people. So I think this is also a product that can help myself. And I do believe in what it is selling. The company goal also aligns with my personal goal very well. That's why I decide to join the company.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I don't know if I'm an introvert or an extrovert. I think it depends on the day, but I definitely appreciate there are lots of ways to connect with people. There are lots of ways to engage on the app, and I like that because it mixes it up. There's lots of different things. There's lots of places you can have a voice, and I think for a conference where there's a lot of people, that's really nice. Yeah. So I guess we could talk a little bit about Hoover and what you think makes it different as a platform. We looked at a lot of platforms before we decided to go with Hoover for this conference. So what do you think kind of sets Hoover apart and makes it nice to use, aside from obviously the social aspects?
Yeah, I think for me, what makes Hoover different would be first of all, it gives people the option to have a mobile app as well as a web app. So you have different options. It's very easy and convenient for them. Now, since everyone is staying at home, for example, for YY's talk yesterday, I didn't really watch that on my web app. Instead, I take my phone. So while I was cooking and I was listening, so that's a very convenient way for people to do stuff and give people an option. And the second one would be really networking and engagement part. I would say a lot of virtual platforms, of course, they definitely help and they focus on how to make organizers event management system easier for them to manage an event. Of course, there's a lot of things organizers needs to do, which of course Hoover also focus on, but another focus really for us would be help attendees to network. I think different from any other platforms, this is really, I guess, I don't know, I think like why I didn't mention originally, Hoover was originally a people search tool. So kind of like just like to help them network, I guess like that makes Hoover different because we already have all of this data. And also, so apart from that, I guess like the third part would be like you can publish app as early as you want, so you don't need to wait until event kind of like start. And after your event is over, so if I already know someone, I can kind of like continue network with them even 6 months after the event is over. And so these are the, I would say, kind of like the key parts that sets Hoover apart from like other platforms.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's like, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a question in the community that was like, oh, we should try to keep the conversation going a bit. There's been a lot of good things that have come up. 3 days is a really short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's right. We have this app, this community, this can stay live for at least 6 months, maybe longer. People can still chat to each other. Yeah, I think that's so great. And also like, to have the app be able to be live, as soon as people register, they can get into the app, they can explore. That made our lives a lot easier because we hoped that people would get a little bit more familiar with how everything worked in advance. But also just like for us, there's less risk, right? Things don't turn on at 9 a.m. on day one and we find out, oh no, that's not set up how we wanted. I guess this is like a feature request for the future. We did like a test event. It's still in there actually. So if anyone's like been sneaking through the agenda, you've probably seen our test event. Yeah, so that was really useful to be able to, we tested the live stream, we tested the embeds, we tested the chat, the moderation. Being able to do that before the event, maybe in a more hidden way in the future. So not everyone can see it, but that was so useful.
Yeah. So yeah, talking about that, we are actually, so our engineering team are currently designing like a specific session called like a dry run. So that's only visible
awesome.
to you and your speakers, kind of like very easy for you guys. Like you don't need to remove anything, like other attendees like won't be able to see all that kind of mess.
Yes, perfect. It's funny, like someone said it before the event, I was like, oh, we should delete the test event. And I was like, oh, I'm so attached to it now. I don't like, and anyway, it's not like we say anything secret. So if people want to see what we've done, like, part of this is to expose the preparation, then you can go check out that test event. Wow. Okay. So we've got a few questions. Let's have a look first at, so this question is from Andrew. He's asking about the licensing model. So I guess this is, maybe Andrew can qualify in the text chat, but I think it's like the pricing, how it works, how people can get involved with using Hoover.
I'm sorry, I think I was on the web app and so the voice get kind of like mixed up.
That's what happened to me in the first 5 seconds. I didn't mute the videos. So for people watching, there's a 20-second delay. So when the video comes in, it's like, there were 2 of me talking. I'm like, I don't know. If someone goes back and watches the recording, they can see my face just be like, and so I just closed the tab. I'm back in it now with it muted. So I think this is probably pricing, licensing. How can people use Hoover?
Sorry, pricing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so really kind of like our pricing model would be based on the number of events and like for each of your event, how many people, how many attendees are you expecting? So we do have like standard package and we also have like add-on features that whether you may or may not need it. And so pricing event by event, but if you do have multi-events, we do offer bulk discounts.
Okay. So so I guess that's a conversation people can have and find out what their needs are, and you can get an idea of pricing before you like lock it in and just make sure it fits in with your budget and stuff. And Fei is a great person to talk to, as we know. Cool. So let's go. So here's a question from Dennis. How many people work for Hoover?
How many people? I would say we have like now probably 80, like including remote, probably like around 100. Like we do have like international supports and stuff. So adding all that together might be kind of like close to 100.
Yeah, that's like pretty crazy. It's a small number of people for such a high impact company. Like you're doing how many events a day, or like a lot, right?
I'm actually only one of the event manager here. So I think like for me, I do have like 3 events taking place today. So really, and we have a huge, like now our sales team is expanding. So really kind of like so many people, like virtual conference has been so kind of like popular nowadays. And we are just like hiring like crazy. And every day, like every month or every week that we have team meeting, I always see new face popping up like on Zoom.
Yeah, no, that's great. Like, I guess it's nice to like be growing so rapidly, and like, you know,
Yeah.
once it gets bigger and bigger, you'll be able to do a lot more as well. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, we really kind of like never imagined that this could be kind of like another. I know it's a lot kind of like sad in for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's always kind of like some kind of like opportunity for some companies, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, you know, we can talk about this a little later as well, but like as we go towards this future where virtual may not be the one answer, but it's not going to go away. So we're going to be looking at hybrid. We're going to be looking at ways to level the playing field for people so that like it's more fair for everyone, regardless of if they're attending in person or virtually. And an app like Hoover or other things like it really make that easier, because then everyone has this one space they can go to regardless of where they are.
Yeah.
So there's a question from Natasha about emoji reactions. Are there going to be like emoji reactions in the future? So say during a talk, you can clap or smile, or, you know, another one that came up was people would like to be able to emoji react to messages in the community, like, you know, thumbs up, that kind of thing. Is
Yeah.
that planned? Is that maybe going to come?
For that one, I actually had a demo today and some clients was asking about that. So really kind of like what we do is I really just like pass the feedback to the engineering team. I would say like currently, because they are focusing on all the virtual tools, and this kind of like emoji stuff definitely would make your conversation kind of like more enlightening, but that would probably come at like a less priority, I would say. But this is definitely something that we would need to add in the future.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, I can get it. Like, it's like we had this in planning the conference. It's like, these are the critical things that need to happen yesterday. These are the like, we really, really important. And then there's like, these are the nice to haves, and they would be amazing. But like, if they don't happen right now, we'll probably survive. So I can understand
Yeah.
that categorization. Just
Correct.
to follow up on that, I think before we go to a next question, we can jump in. Like, what are, you know, you said that they are prioritizing other features in Hoover. So what are the kind of main things or big things that are coming up that you're excited about?
I think like currently the one like there's a few things kind of like coming in the near like this month or next month, so that would be like a one-on-one video chatting options. So you know that now with Whova you can use the virtual meeting options, like that's kind of like internal tool, but that's visible to everyone. But we will release our one-on-one video chatting options, and the next one would be like a round table. So we do offer round table for help kind of to help attendees networking. That will also be kind of really a very nice part. And another one to help organizers, I would say probably be like the Zoom integration. Kind of like now what you wanted to do is that you created different Zoom meetings and add the link to the Whova backend, but we will be working on Zoom so that you can connect a Zoom with Whova directly, and when you schedule the meeting, it will automatically be popping up, so you don't need to do the copy and paste that stuff.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, like it'll make it a lot easier for people. Just like completely
Yeah.
embeds.
And I guess like in the long run, the most exciting thing for me would be kind of like our internal like video live streaming. So you don't need to use any external stuff anymore. And that's
Okay.
our kind of like goal. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because one of the things I liked best about Hoover was the ability to plug and play with other things. Will you still keep that, or is the plan to try and, okay, you'll still keep that. It's just
Yeah, definitely. Just
okay.
like, yeah, give people like more options, I would say.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because like there are some things where it's like you know, there's other platforms where it's like you have to use our streaming and it's maybe not perfect for what you need. So if you can just embed the service you already have, then that's better. But then other people like, okay, they don't have Zoom, they don't have WebEx, they don't have that. So if that's
Correct.
available, it will work really well.
Yeah.
So there's another question from Andrew about how much work was involved in populating the app content, and how does the app work to actively remove setup friction. Yeah, so I guess you can talk a little bit about how the app works, and then I can talk about what we had to do for it, but I can see some of our committees also jumped in. So yeah, so why don't you talk a little bit about how people can set up the app?
Yeah, I guess like, so to set up the app, it should be, I would say from my end, it seems very easy to me, but of course, like Vanessa, you can talk about that in details. Like, so basically once you move forward, you'll get a Whova organizer backend. So that's what we call the dashboard. And you just like plug in information. So a lot of stuff that we provide you with a templates, like agenda templates, attendee templates, exhibitor templates, all that part, you have your Excel file, just plug in information to the Excel file and then import it. And that's kind of like about the whole setup. And once you think everything's ready, you can easily click on the button and it will be published kind of an instant.
Yeah, no, I think that captures it. So like there a lot of the setup is done in the back end. So which Fei was describing, it's like in the web browser based. You can do some things from the phone app, but most of the setup is done in the web browser. One of the first things, there's a lot of options in there, which is great. Like what we liked was it gave us so much control over, just everything to do. Like one of the concerns we had was, if you go with some platforms, then there's always a middle person or, another interface, an admin who has to do stuff for you. So we're like, oh no, we made a typo. We could just go in and fix that instantly. So once you know where all the different sections are, so we had to spend like a few hours going like, okay, what's this do? What's that do? What's that do? But then once you know that, it's like, it's great. You have a lot of control over the event. We could also have the multiple admins. So like, I think maybe like 10 people or something from the committee are admins in the back end. So it doesn't become a single point of failure. Anyone can jump in and just fix stuff or add stuff. So that's been really useful as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Rika asks, after lockdown, have customer requests concentrated in any particular direction, e.g. social, organizational? So yeah, so are you noticing any trends in who's signing up to use Hoover?
For any, I would say, so originally kind of like people are hesitate to go to virtual. Like now there's not really kind of, I would say for all the clients that we are having, there's a different like enterprise conferences, there's a different summit, there's like organizations, government entities, really kind of like all kinds of like stuff that they are getting more and more. I would say especially probably like universities, like they have so many events, they have so many stuff, and they just like really need this kind of like a virtual tools to help them to do any kind of like engagement or any kind of like stuff with the students. So like for me personally, I see a lot of like university events.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I guess one of the things about Hoover as well is we found it quite affordable compared with other options we were considering, especially considering all the features that it comes with and functionality. Like it was, by going with Hoover, we didn't have to buy into a lot of other stuff we would need. We didn't need to build the event website because it came with templates. We didn't need to buy Eventbrite to manage registrations also because it came. So that was like really nice as well. It is almost like this all-in-one solution, and that was really good.
Mm-hmm. I think so this is kind of like what we are aiming towards, like to have everything in one place, and but still give organizers the option, like whichever things that you would need. Some would come for free, some would be like extra add-ons that you can easily add later on if you need it.
Okay, so let's see, here is a comment from Ron. We can turn it into a question. As Hoover becomes bigger and more successful, you need a stable product to maintain. So it must be harder to be agile and innovative at the same time, right? Because it has to stay stable, but you want to keep changing it. So how are you dealing with that, or how are you seeing Hoover deal with that?
Probably how I see people, like how I see the engineering team dealing with that. Like they have like for, as I can see, so our engineering team, they have kind of like, there are like months that they focus on getting new features out. And there are also months that they try to kind of like make their like event kind of like a more, I don't know, sustainable, or kind of working on the internal infrastructure and stuff. But like for that part, I'm like not probably kind of, I won't be able to speak more about that, but I know that for this month and next month, so we will be focusing more on the maintenance part and less new features. Like currently we only have, like I mentioned, so we only have like, I think like 3 major features that will be released this 2 months, but at the same time focus on getting like the app like more probably like nicer, like for sponsors, and you have like a nicer graph, getting more customization for them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting way to put it. You know, like kind of alternating in periods between like driving innovation and doing new things, and then like jumping to a stability focused and kind of yeah. That sounds like a good way to do it. So hopefully it continues to scale well. Another question from Justin: do the Hoover team need to help manage issues when an event is live, or do they usually go smoothly without assistance?
I would say probably depending on events, especially because like we don't provide live streaming. Like for example, we are using kind of like the live streaming to do all the broadcasting. If you are having problem with live streaming, so that's probably like what we can do is limited. However, like for any like things that's on the Hoover platform and anything happens, your attendees cannot log in, or your attendees have any questions about all that things, as long as it's related to Hoover. So we do have a dedicated support team who can help you. So it's always before, during, and even after your event is over. So it's not limited to that event day.
Yeah, and definitely, you know, we found like I don't know like what the record for number of people sending support requests is. I don't think I'm there, so you can tell me later. But like I definitely, you know, shout out to Viljana because I've seen a few emails from her or Josh. But every time we've sent a question or, you know, there's been a bug or something, the response time's been pretty quick and they've been able to fix it for the most part. Unless it's like something, you know, obviously needs like development to fix, then it's harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that support has been pretty good. We have I guess it's kind of a question it's a question from Francis about the camera panning the room, but I think it is like, it's more tied up with, you know, how people stream in. So I guess we can kind of frame it, you know, when Hoover does provide its own live streaming, how is that likely to be? Like, you know, will it be able to do clever things in terms of how it sends the video across? Will it be able to like zoom in on the speaker or stuff like that? Where's it going to start with?
For that, I think probably I won't be able to talk more about it. It's more about kind of like on the roadmap stuff, and the engineering team are still in the designing stage. And until they really have a clear plan, they won't be able to. They don't want us to overpromise our clients.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think like, I mean, maybe webcams will get super fancy, so people can stand in a room and then just kind of like walk around in the camera.
Okay.
I think there's already some cameras that do that. I know mine doesn't.
I see that.
Yeah.
I know that like Facebook, I have friends like working in Facebook, and Facebook, I think I probably give this kind of a camera to each of their like employees. And when I do video chatting with them, so when they walk away from me and then the camera just like zoom in, that's so cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I guess it's like if you try to escape the camera, you can't. So maybe it's also scary, but yeah, interesting.
A little bit. It can be
Okay.
scary.
I wonder if they're okay. Yeah, that's a whole other topic, but I wonder if they're also using that to like body track or learn expressions or something at the same time. Anyway, let's see what the next question is. So, let's see. Okay, so here's a question from me, from Dennis, and we can actually extrapolate to other events that you've seen. So he's asking how many people on the organizing committee, how many hours of work do you think this has taken? That is a really good question. So the organizing committee one's a little bit easier in the sense that we do have a list. So let me just, you know, multitask, got my browser up, I'm going to find the list and put it in the chat, because, you know, if I was better, it would do it faster and you wouldn't notice I was doing it. But anyway, so on our event website, we do have a page that says like organizing committee. So I can, let's see, I've lost the tab. I'm going to put that in the chat. So that is our organizing committee list. I think one thing about it is that there's what we call kind of like the core committee. That's people who have done a lot of work or like, you know, taken lead on specific tasks that we needed done for the conference. There are supporting members. So these are people who kind of like advise or, you know, were involved a little bit. And then there's like the special thanks category, which is like people who have actually done like a lot, you know, in terms of different aspects, which may be IT or legal or governance or finance. Like, so it's actually, you know, if you look, there's a lot of CSIRO as well. So we like, you know, CSIRO has really supported us. Obviously it is a CSIRO hosted symposium to put this together. But yeah, it was, I guess it's quite a lot of people. I'd say like it varied a little bit how much people, like, you know, how much individuals had to do. So how many people we got there? It's like something like, I guess in this core list, it's maybe about 20. I think probably a lesson learned that we found is we probably could have divided and conquered a bit more sooner. But we had 3 or 4 months to put this together, and that was from scratch. So, I guess with Fei, you've probably seen people switch from physical to virtual. We started as virtual without any idea of what we wanted to do. So there was like a month and a half or 2 months of like, what does the program even look like? What are the goals of this? What do we want? And then it was like, okay, now we have to like make it happen. So we didn't have, I think time was the thing that worked against us, but we wanted to do this sooner rather than later so that, we could get the conversation going sooner. So yeah, so Fei, I guess when you look at hours of work, I don't even want to, we'll calculate it probably for the document we write after, but it's probably a lot. How many people do you typically see on organizing committees for Hoover? Do you have visibility of that, like admins or stuff like that?
Oh, I think like for admins, usually what I see, I guess like really kind of like from 2 to 5 would be an average number, or maybe like, of course, like they can have like more and more organizers organizing this, organizing that. But in terms of like managing Hoover, there's not too many people there. They really just like they probably just dedicate like a few people, like 2 or 3 people to managing like agenda, speaker, exhibitor, sponsor, that kind of stuff, and sending out push notification, and that's kind of like about it. Doesn't really require a lot of like manpower.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So I guess you can only really see the people who are adminning the Hoover side. You don't necessarily have visibility of the whole organizing committee for a particular conference. We've probably been a little different in that we've kind of let, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 people into the admin and just kind of trusted everyone to not do anything bad. And that's been great, because it means like if someone needs to be added to a workshop or an attendee has a duplicate profile, like any of us can jump in. But yeah, I think having more like experience and familiarity with the platform for, if you were going to have a lot of people in it, would probably be good. You need to make sure everyone knows exactly what not to click. We haven't had any problems, I think. I don't think I don't think we've deleted anything. I had a nightmare because in session capping, we've used enrolling for the workshops. I had Butterfingers or something, and I clicked disable. And then I was like, oh my gosh, because we had people already signed up for the workshops and like all of the numbers. I was like, oh gosh, has that all been wiped? I clicked enable again and it wasn't. I was like, phew. But yes, that was a minor moment of panic. So good coding on whoever did that. They realized people are silly and they will turn it off by accident. That was just really scary. Okay, so let's have so a quick one I think we can go to before we go to the last one. So this is about unifying the messaging streams. So, there's the community, there's the chat, there's the session Q&A. Is there plans like to kind of make it easier for people to find out where the notifications are or what they're tagged in the future?
Yeah, I think this is definitely something that we wanted to work on, because like I do see usually, so after the event is over, I do go over all the kind of like the event statistic with the organizer, as well as collecting feedback to pass to the product team. This is also something that I hear kind of like a lot recently about, like when you receive a notification, you want to click on the notification, it will take you directly there. So, and again, so they do have their priority list, but this is definitely something that our team wanted to put on the roadmap.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I guess that fits into like improving the existing services and just making it all better kind of thing. That's great. So we've got about like maybe less than a minute. So very quickly, there's been a couple questions about hybrid events. So what do you think, like, is hybrid events the future, and is Hoover considering how you're going to support hybrid events in the future?
Definitely. I think like from my point of view, so I think like virtual events kind of like currently kind of like really lose a very important aspect, which is the human interaction. So I think once the really like the current situation is over, things will more likely to go to a hybrid, because like currently we are really, like, to be honest, we are forced to do virtual conference right now. But of course, people can see a lot of like unique advantages against the in-person conferences, which is the accessibility. Like people don't need to travel. They can just like have all the information on their desktop or on their mobile devices. And this is really kind of the unique advantage like nobody can admit. So I would say in the future, like in-person conference will probably be coming back, but at the same time, organizers do not want to kind of like still wanted to bring the virtual aspect so people can have access to. And in terms of like what Hoover can do, so really kind of like, I don't know whether you are aware, so Hoover was actually originally support in-person conference, but now we switched to virtual conference, but still all the tools are already there. So now some, like we also see some of the conferences already signed up Hoover for hybrid event, because you have all like the in-person tools, you also have the virtual tools. So really kind of like any kind of like a format of conferences, as long as you have Hoover, so you are all covered.
Cool. No, awesome. No, it's a good point. It'll be interesting to see how events evolve over the next year as it becomes more possible to meet in person. Are we going to see local hubs, and are people still going to travel? I don't like, if I never got on a plane again, I don't know if I'd be that sad. I mean, not being able to go internationally is yeah, but I just planes themselves. All right, we're about out of time. So I'm going to wrap up here and say thank you so much to Fei for joining us, also in your evening because time zones. So thanks for making the time to join us today. Thank you everyone for your questions. Fei can hopefully maybe like she can go back through to this agenda item to the questions and discussion and like weigh in or add any comments if we didn't get to a question. So thanks so much for joining us, and thanks Fei, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining, and feel free to reach out if you guys do have any questions, and I'll go over the QA as well as the chats as well. And see you guys. Have a nice day.